All right, and we're live. Cool. How fancy was that? I got myself a video countdown. I stepped up in the world. Oh, boy. Well, see, James is in the chat. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to everybody that's tuning in now or that will be tuning in, that might be watching this on catch up, which is coincidentally what I like to put on my fries. um, So yeah, happy New Year and happy new EP for me. I figure I was gonna stay up until midnight just to put the EP out because I've got nothing else, to do. I like a quiet New Year's Eve myself. I mean, I don't mind being with friends and family, but yeah, for me, I like things quiet. Um, my neighbors and the people in this town do not because fireworks were going off until like 1 o'clock in the morning. And, there are some people that, number one, would like to sleep. Number two, might have PTSD from hearing loud noises like that. Yeah, so did I mention I hate fireworks? Okay, so new EP called Staycation. Do I have? I'll have to figure out how to set up like slides and things like that. But what I think I can do. No, if you go to my Facebook, you'll see the artwork. I was gonna figure out how to put the artwork up, but um, yeah. So Staycation. I had not intended originally to put out an EP. Um, most of that stuff, most of the stuff that's on the EP, I had been working on live stream just so people can kind of see how I work, and also from checking out these different um, digital audio workstation softwares, um, and all the different software instruments that I use, the hardware that I have around me. Um, and it kind of just turned into something. Um, I kept writing more stuff. I had some stuff, previously written, and I think the thought came to me a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago, about putting an EP out. Um, and I was like, you know what? What am I going to call this EP? Um, I mean, it would be nice to give it some kind of a concept, but what kind of a concept could I give it? I mean, it's instrumental music. Um, well, the thought was kind of planted in my head of, well, why not take the listener on a trip, on a journey, or on a vacation, if you will, through, the music on the CP. And so things have kind of been pieced together that way, and that things have been titled that way, like the song titles. Um, and really, it's up to the listener to paint their own picture of their own, kind of vacation through these tracks. And this EP was really put together to listen to in its entirety from start to end. The songs can stand, well on their own. Um, but I think the experience um, goes up a level when we do what we're about to do, which is listen to this EP. And as we listen to this EP, um, I'll talk through um, I'll talk through the writing process. I'll talk through some of the musical decisions I made, some of the sound choices, how I got some of the sounds on this EP. So things like that, and we'll hang out. If anyone has any questions, we can certainly answer those. So with that in mind, we'll go ahead and start with the first tune, which is called All Aboard. All right, all aboard. First track on the EP. Um, there were really two tracks that I could open this EP with. This one and the next one. I couldn't figure out which one to put first. So, um, and this was before I even titled this one. Um, and I decided to put this one first just because I really like the way it opens. It opens with. So it opens with the Karma, and that actually wasn't the first thing I wrote. The first thing I came up with was the chorus section. And if you watch one of my previous live streams, you'll actually see me working on that. And I actually was playing around with different figures and different things where a lot of times I really like having the chord progression follow what the melody is doing. You'll hear that in a lot of my songs and a lot of the things that I write. Another example might be off of my EP called Retroactive. There's a piece called Above the Clouds. And that kind of does the same thing. So when I kind of started playing around with putting this piece together, it actually started with that percussion loop, courtesy of Stylus RMX. Just reading the comments. Yeah, it is. It's like a good. It's a very good opener. It actually started with the loop from Stylus RMX, and as many that watch this stream know, and for those that don't know, I'm very big on improvising. I'm very big on, not thinking about what I'm playing. I just start playing and just stuff comes out. And that basic figure, move my mic over here so I can kind of talk while I'm playing. That basic figure was like the first thing that came out. Came out something like that, and then I thought to myself, it's a little bit like Above the Clouds, especially those first four chords. So I played around with it a little bit, and then this is what happened. And then the second part that I wrote was actually the verse part. And there's a couple other sounds in there, in the verse part, playing the melody, along with that guitar sound from the Karma. I'll go over to the quadrasynth and I'll play one of them. It's a patch called, I think it's called 16 Flutes, and it's kind of like a Mellotron flute in a way, but it's also pad-like too. So we're going to play that. And And then the second half of that is layered with a patch in Omnisphere, which sounds very similar to something that I have on the QS Plus. And that sounds like this. That's one of the sounds that you hear in the chorus section. Another sound you're going to hear in the chorus section is a pan flute courtesy of the MX61. Nope, that's the... what is that? No, hang on. There it is. And I do quite a bit of layering with those two sounds. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Oh, thank you so much. Again, I'm not looking for fame. I just, honestly, I started this channel to get used to being in front of a camera, because I'm not a big fan of cameras, but, we'll see what happens. But, I'm very grateful for, people sticking around and checking out what I do. I'm glad to be, part of the community and to be able to, provide what I do as far as either a review or even, writing music or whatever, and giving insight to, how I write. So let's talk about the bridge part. And again, Happy New Year to everybody watching. The bridge part. Actually was an idea that I came up with, I want to say in 2017. Again, kind of playing around a bit, improvising, practicing, whatever. And that chord sequence just came out of nowhere. And it had stuck with me for the past, 7 years. And I tried a bunch of stuff and didn't know what to do with it. Until this piece. And that happens to me quite often, where I'll have a seed of an idea and I'll end up putting it on the back burner until I need to pull it out. It's, kind of like, I would say you're kind of building a vocabulary, if you will, of different, ways to construct chord patterns or even different chord sequences. I have a few that are still on the back burner that I need to do something with. And the original idea actually is in this song, along with another one. And they're back to back right before we come back into the quiet, the down chorus. So the original idea was this. And I forget the rest of it. But I know that main chord progression kind of stuck with me for the past 7 years. The other one is this quick little... is that. So... Finally, I'm very happy to have a home for both of those. Now, sound-wise, what's happening in that section, in addition to the main sound here, is there's a couple of pad sounds with varying levels of portamento, of glide, courtesy of Omnisphere. I'll see if I can. I'll try to recreate it on the Hydra. So turn on the glide. I'll have to do this with a mono sound. No, I don't want to do that. So there's two sounds, two portamentoed pads, and they're layered, and they're actually playing just single lines. In addition to that guitar pad, and one of them is playing the melody. And then another one comes in with a counter above that. In harmony with that. Then we get to the solo section, which is basically a vamp over G. If I can play it. And then into that. And then the solo, the main sound, is from the Hydra synth. Something like that. And that's pretty much the opening track, All Aboard. So now we'll move on to the second track as we listen to my radiator going off. All right, now we'll listen to the second track. The second track is called Full Speed Ahead. Here we go. Right, full speed ahead. And to answer your question, James, that was IK Multimedia's Hammond B3X. Because there's absolutely no way I would be able to play that solo on a weighted keyboard. I'd have to MIDI it in. So anyway, this little piece of music. I need to move my mic. Hang on. There we go. Actually, I do need to move it over to where the piano is. So this piece of music started out really. I think I wrote it in like 2014, 2015. I can't remember the exact date, and this is the third time I've recorded it. It was actually a friend of mine that kind of lit the spark for this song. I guess he was putting together a compilation for something or another, and he was looking for something with a nautical theme to it. And I didn't have anything, but I told him I could try to write something. And the very first thing that I think of is kind of that rolling, triplet, I hate bringing up the film Titanic, but when they go down to that party in third class, it's almost that kind of a feel, but not quite. See. Oh, my uncle. Nice. What's up? The ceiling, my Alexa lights. I've got some rope lighting up here. It's a tin ceiling. That's kind of what's up. Anyway, so I kind of started playing around with a pedal point, which is basically I'm doing a bunch of chord changes over one bass note. And actually, since I've written this, it's been it's either this one or one of the other pieces that I just wrote has been the opener in for any of my live shows that I do, which is very few and far between. But so I started playing around with this. And then not the easiest thing in the world to play. Let me see. I gotta fix something here. Let's try that. I gotta fix the velocity curve on here. And then I don't know how I came up with this part. Again, it has to do with the fact that I improvise a lot and ideas just come to me, and I'll slowly develop them into something. No, that's not it. but I wanted something very like progressive rock sounding, almost like Kansas in a way. Um, so I kind of came up with that quick little. There's a lot of like, substitute chords, borrowed chords. Well, not really borrowed chords because I'm not really borrowing anything from the parallel minor key, at least yet, not yet. But like I said, this was recorded 3 separate times. It was recorded for this compilation that I don't think ever happened, and I recorded it at 432 hertz, which is another tuning standard. So all my keyboards here are in A440. So A432 is a little bit flatter than that. I don't know why I did it, but this friend of mine was really into 432, and I think he still is. So I humored him and recorded the whole thing at 432. But I knew if I was going to put it on an album, I need to redo it in 440. I did another arrangement of it in 2021 that was more synth based, and I wasn't really feeling it. So I kind of thought that if I was going to use it again, it needs to go back to this kind of organic, nautical feel. So there's a violin in there. There's not really a bagpipe, but an Ilian pipe, I think is what it's called. So the violin is from East West Opus, and I want to say that the pipes are from World Suite 3 from UVI, or they could be from East West as well. I can't remember. I don't have the session popped up. But the synth part in the bridge section that was courtesy of the Behringer 2600. Which unfortunately took a bit of a fall off my stand a few weeks back and needs a couple of sliders replaced. It still works, but the fine-tuned slider on oscillator 1 broke off from the fall, so I kind of found a way to get the slider like in the center position. I can still use it, I just don't have that fine-tune. I may look into getting a second 2600 at some point anyway. But anyway, so there's that. The organ was IK Multimedia's Hammond B3X, and like I said, there's absolutely no way I could play that from a weighted action because there are some quick, very quick passages in that solo. For example, let me go back to part number 1. Yeah, so yeah, forget about playing that part on weighted action. Not going to happen. That's pretty much all I can think about for that tune. But like I said, it's been a staple in any time I play a solo show. When I feel like I need to rest my voice, but my hands are still good, and I could still kind of play that. And I can play it as a solo piano piece. And that's the other thing. If I write this instrumental music, how does it translate across, if I play it on a solo piano? And depending on what equipment I bring out with me live will depend on which tunes I wind up taking out live. Like, I will not play to a backing track. And then the other part is the very, very end. Something like that. That brings back in the 2600, and I think I'm doubling that with the organ and the violin. Again, it's been a while since I recorded that. I think I did that last summer. And I was looking for stuff to put on the EP, and I was like, wait, I got Full Speed Ahead. I'll just throw that on there. So we've boarded the boat. We are now full speed ahead. And now that we're on the open sea, let's take a peek beyond the horizon. All right, Beyond the Horizon. This one actually started out as a demo that I did for one of the classes here at school, at Seacoast Christian School. I had my one of my quadrisynths set up, and I think I had just gotten the QS Plus piano, and I just pulled it out of the case. It actually arrived while I was in the middle of class, so the kids got to see me unbox a synth. which was quite exciting. Um, but I also have a Yamaha QX3 sequencer. Matter of fact, let me go grab that. There we go. So that is a Yamaha QX3 MIDI sequencer. Nowadays, probably wouldn't be using one of these. I know in the 90s and the 2000s, you'd probably be going to a workstation like the Karma or the Triton. And nowadays, most of the time, you'd use a computer to do everything. But back in the 80s, you'd have to have a hardware sequencer to record everything. But this piece of music, which ended up becoming Beyond the Horizon, started out as a demo, and it started out with just that A part. And that's all I had at the time. And then I think I just quickly wrote a B part just to speed the demo along. Something like that, I can't remember. But that's really where that piece started, and I multi-tracked it with the QS Plus. So, and then I had my DM5 set up. I had my Behringer Model D set up so that I could grab different instruments and sequence them with the QX3. So when it came time to do the review of the MX61, I decided to use that piece again and sequence it with the QX3. And then I want to say I was playing around in Cubase, or it was either Cubase or I started this in Studio One. I might have you'll have to go back and watch the live stream where I started this. I think I started it in Cubase, saved it as a DAW project, which is supposed to be compatible with Cubase and Studio One. I opened it up in Studio One and it was completely messed up. Like all the clips were in the wrong spots. They were, too long. And I was like, I'm just going to start it over again. So I did. Sound wise, this piece is primarily made up of MX61, a little bit of Karma. The bass is from the 2600 behind me. I've got a couple of sounds from the QS and the QS Plus, mainly the flute sound, as well as that, I think it's called Silk and Satin Patch, which has kind of a bell quality to it. I'll play that right now. And then here's the flute. I really like that sound. It's very pad-like. And And there's a couple other little tricks. There's some strings from both the MX and the Karma. There's another pan flute. I do like my pan flute sounds. And I actually pulled from the Chord Collection M1 software. I wanted something with a little different character than what this is, but it's playing that. So it's basically playing the melody line, but a little bit with, with some added rhythm. So something like that. When you get to and then the main sound is this 80s layer. We also have a bell pad. We also have that. And then there's a, what is it? The Arturia Mini V3 makes an appearance in a couple of spots coming out of the... So there, and then coming out of the verse section... So there's that. Not a whole lot else to say about that particular piece. So from Beyond the Horizon, we have now reached our destination spot, which is where the river meets the sand. All right, where the water meets the sand. Um, yes, Georgie, Happy New Year to you, and I will see you soon. We'll have a little bit of fun. So this one started out on stream as James had stated. I had just gotten Superior Drummer 3 and wanted to do kind of a Latin jazz kind of thing because I had Steven Slate Drums 5. I still have it. And while it's a decent sounding plugin for drums, it's not really geared towards jazz. It's more geared towards rock. And hard rock and metal and things like that. Those drums are really aggressive sounding, and I've always heard great things, really good things about Superior Drummer, and I hadn't had the opportunity to get it because it's so pricey until just recently. So I ended up getting the plugin and playing around with it, and I really like how versatile that drum plugin is. You've got brushes, rods, sticks, like all kinds of stuff. And so I kind of laid down this like slow bossa nova pattern. And then I kind of just started improvising over it, as I normally do. So let's talk chord changes. Once again, we have my kind of signature melody follows the chords. And in this case, and then once in a while, I'll go to the major. So I'll borrow a chord from the parallel key. So we're in C sharp minor, so I'm going to borrow from C sharp major temporarily. And then back to minor. So we got to climb up there. And then a climb down. So we're kind of following the main pattern. We're climbing up and we're climbing down. So we're kind of doing the same thing here. There's your climb up. So we got a diminished there. A diminished triad. And then a 1 over flat 7. Now we're going to start climbing down. So another diminished triad there. We're substituting for a dominant 7 chord, which I could do, doesn't quite fit. So we're going to climb up. We got a half diminished. Yeah, into a dominant 7. And then one of my favorite transitions is I like going. It's a very classical thing to do. From there, we go into the chorus section. Going around a circle. Another diminished chord. Half diminished. then we're going to borrow from the major key. So a major 7. Now we take a little breather. Now here's where things get interesting. Minor 7, 9, 11. So we got a minor 11. Then we're going to go up a step. And then we're going to go up a minor 3rd, and we're going to go to a minor 11. Inverted. Oh, how did that work? So we're going from here, from there. Well, there's a couple ways that works. We have some common notes from this A flat minor 11 to an E minor 9. We have the 3rd, and we have the minor 7, which is then going to become the 5th and the 9th in that E minor 9. And then there's that walking bass line going down. The 5 going down to the 1. So we're in a minor key, we're borrowing again. Now here's a crazy change. We're going to go from an E9 over an A flat. We're going to go to a B flat major 9. Okay, what do we got there? Let's do that again. So we've changed keys very, very temporarily. Changed modes. All right, so if I go to a minor key, the relative minor of this key, of F, is D minor. So if I do a harmonic minor scale, it's going to allow me to get an A major in there, which I can also use to step up instead of going to a D minor. I can go up to a B because I can go up to the 5 of E minor. And then we get into what's called a melodic minor scale. It's the only scale that goes down differently than it goes up. Excuse me. So we play around with some scales there. All right, so I'll do that whole passage again. Now remember this E minor, remember this E minor 7, no, E minor 9, excuse me. Because we're going to go back to it. Now what's happened is we're going to take that whole passage going to play it again, but we've gone up a half step. And it happens 3 times. during the synth solo. Now if I could play it. Third time. But now I gotta bring it home somehow, so we will. So we'll keep climbing up, and we'll keep, taking some weird changes here. We're gonna go chromatically up from this E over A flat to an F over A to a G, and then down from that G chromatically down to the F sharp minor. Now we have another breather. And we got a nice little... Ooh, nice. Some whole tone stuff in there. So that's one of the interesting chord parts. The other one is the very, very end, where I go into this. Let me see if I can. So what's going on here? So we have this familiar passage. And now we're going to use a lot of diminished chords. We're actually going to use 2 of them. There's only 3 diminished chords, full diminished. 1, 2, 3. Because if I keep going up, that's basically the first chord inverted. All right, so start soft, and then we've got a way to build it up dynamically to that end. Nice, there we go. So, sound-wise, what do we have? We have an acoustic piano from UVI, from the Key Suite Acoustic Library called the F Grand, which is probably my favorite grand piano in that library. It's a Fazioli F278, I think, or an F280, one of them. I don't remember because I don't have the session in front of me. We also have from UVI's Key Suite Electric, we have a Mark V Rhodes, which is playing some nice stuff in there. We also have, obviously, Superior Drummer 3. We've got percussion from Sample Tank and from Stylus RMX from Spectrasonics. We have some Mini V3 stuff in there, especially on that end. And then also there's a counter to that too, which I don't think I'm going to be able to play at the same time as the chords, unless I do it, unless I spin myself around and put my left hand over here. So let's see. Close enough, you get the idea. We also have some strings from a free plugin. It's a free emulation of the Korg Trident by a company called Full Bucket Music. They've got some really good emulations of some vintage Korg stuff, as well as a couple other things that are really, really cool. So I highly recommend checking those out. There's also some bell pad from the MX61 in that solo section. We also have some, I think that's it, as far as the sounds go. But that was a really fun one to write. Now, From the Beach. And this, by the way, Where the Water Meets the Sand, the second single released from this EP. I released it last Monday. Now we're going to check out the first single. So from the beach, we're going to head to the boardwalk. All right, nice little stroll on the boardwalk. So, I actually wrote this one last year. I want to say just as school was getting out. And this is back when I had my Roland RD 1000 piano, which had a beautiful action, and this piece was actually quite easy to play on it because the action had such a light touch. My wrists really liked it. The This one a little more difficult. I don't know if it's my hands that are getting worse or if it's this piano that's just like weighing, just could be that I'm just not playing enough, but again, I started improvising. I was listening to at the time a group by the name of Flim and the BBs, um, a jazz group that started in the late 70s, early 80s. Their first album, I think you have to find it on YouTube. And even then, it's difficult to find because um, there's no way to get it in print unless you find an original vinyl of it, which I don't think even exists. Um, Probably does, but it's super, super expensive. It was supposed to be a direct to disc recording. Um, and every album after that was released on CD because they had gotten into digital recording and um, they really wanted to exploit the dynamic range um, of digital recording. And I want to say they had a Mitsubishi recorder, but I could be wrong. But they tracked everything live as far as I remember. I don't think they did any overdubs, but their music was so dynamic and just so well done. I still really like it. They only ever released a handful of albums between like the late 70s and the early 90s. Um, but if you listen to their CDs and you want to talk dynamic range, so good. I don't hear any like really heavy limiting on any of those recordings. They've done a very good job preserving the dynamics on those recordings. Like you can hear it get really, really soft and then really, really loud. You can hear the difference between those two extremes. And it's such a shame that music hasn't progressed like that. Now it's all about how loud can we make our music to the point where there's no dynamics in it at all, which is honestly one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of modern music nowadays, unless it's like really well produced and well put together. I like dynamics in my music. Unfortunately, you know, in order to compete with, everything else that's out there, I kind of have to use, things like, double, two limiters and things like that to get it, nice and loud. Um, I almost wonder what would happen if I just use one limiter and just as a peak limiter, but still, and barely any compression and still maintain the dynamics. I might do a remix of Boardwalk at some point and just take off all the compression and stuff and just see what happens. May not be pretty, but you'll get an idea of the dynamic range of the piece that I really want. So anyway, I wrote this piece like I said, last summer, just as school was getting out, and it's kind of been my warm up piece. Um, before I need to play a show, I'll play a little bit of it because there's a lot of left hand stuff, and then there's a lot of right hand stuff. So sound wise, there's not a lot going on here. I tried adding other things to it. Like I tried putting Mini V3 to do some melodic stuff. Just wasn't working. So I kept it piano, bass, drums. That's all this one needs. I think, in some instances, less is more. As far as instrumentation goes, I don't think this needed anything else, to be honest. And one of the most important skills, Listexi is kicking it. One of the most important skills anybody can have as a producer, an arranger, is knowing when to say enough's enough. Like I could have done a whole, synth, orchestra on that piece, but I just, in the end, I tried a couple of things, like even just simple mini moog things, but it wasn't working. I don't think this piece needed it. I will, as far as interesting things happening musically, I'll show a couple of things. There's actually one section that uses all three full diminished chords, these three. And it's actually this, what I would call, there's actually 4 sections to this. What I would call the C section or the B plus section. So the A section is this. The B section. And we're going to go to the parallel minor. The B plus section I'm going to call this. And this is where let me play that again. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, I think. I don't think I used that one. Wait a minute, let me try this again. I did. Alright, I did. I used that one, and then I used that. So I did use all of them. I did use all 3. So I'll play that again. There's 1. There's 2. Nice. Now the other interesting section is in the bridge. Going from a minor, 6 minor, to a flat 6 major. Now we're going to tritone from a B flat to an E. And we're going to do a walking bass line down. Right here. Section I really wanted to show off. Now the tritone from there is to F. So we basically took the entire chord pattern and we dropped it down a whole step using a tritone. Cool, right? So I'll do it again. Who would have thought you would have been getting a music theory lesson here? Right, tritone. Another one. So the tritone is here. And why is it a tritone? Because it is 3 whole tones or 3 whole steps away. There we go. So here's your root, and then 1, 2, 3. Now we need to bring it home. So I'm going to go back to that B section. So And that is Boardwalk. That's the first single. So now that we've taken a stroll on the boardwalk, let's go back to our cruise ship. We'll sit out on the deck in one of the lounge chairs with a good book. And then what might happen? I don't know. You might, unless you get really seasick, which in that case I wouldn't recommend going on a cruise ship. Your eyes might drift and you might go like into daydream land. So now we're going to take a journey through a daydream. All right, Journey Through a Daydream. This is the another one of the ones that I was working on stream, and I want to say it was this one, not Beyond the Horizon, that I was playing around in Cubase and wanted to transfer it over to Studio One. I feel like this could have been it. You know, my brain goes about 100 miles an hour, so I can't remember. So this one started with that percussion pattern in Stylus RMX and just improvising over it. So there's a bit of a pattern. Starting a groove and then just playing around over it. That's kind of one of my secrets. I don't know. Again, me with my crazy chord changes. I don't know. They just happen. So, while I'm looking at the camera, I'll, let me see if I can grab a patch here. So I guess one theory I can give as to why some of my chord changes work is when you're going from one chord to another, listen for any common tones between the two chords. For example, that E major into the C major 7 has that B. Into the C sharp minor 7. They all have that common B. They also have the E too. So there's a couple of tones that really make those chord changes work. And also going into the, let's see. Chromatic up. So we're basically in, if we were going to give this a key signature, give it the key of A. Or if you were going to talk modes, I would go D Lydian, which has the raised fourth. And then you go to D Dorian. So some modal interchange happening there. Now, this is another case of me having an idea floating around my head for a while and not really having anything to use it in. And that was the case for that chorus section. So, why does that one work? All right, A minor is the relative minor to C major. And we also have a cool pivot point, which is that G7. Because that'll go into a major, or it can go to a minor. So major scale, minor scale. Harmonic minor scale. Because it has that raised 7. So coming out of that, So now I got to go back home. I got to go from a C minor to an F sharp, which again is a triad, but I need a smooth change. So there's my C7. Well, we can go to a A flat half diminished, which has two common tones with that G7, which is the B and the D. This is a classic 2-5-1 in a minor key. So there's the 2-5-1 in the key of F sharp. So really, those are the kind of interesting chord changes happening there. Sound-wise, the UVI F Grand that I used, it's pretty much all over this record. I would say with the exception of Full Speed Ahead that had a different piano. I think it was one of the ones from Pianoverse. It also has the one of my favorite pad sounds from Omnisphere, the Jupiter Prophet Marriage. That's all over this record, all over the CP. Very, very nice pad. And there's a very soft triangle sound from the model from the Mini V3 that's playing a. Let me grab a lead sound just so I can show you. Grab this. Just pretend that that's a triangle. And it's kind of playing right behind that piano. So kind of doing that kind of thing. And then there's a square pad in the chorus, courtesy of the Karma. There's also the brush drums from Superior Drummer 3. And that's pretty much it with this song. Again, I created this one on live stream. Now we've got one final thing. So after we come out of that daydream, we're kind of on the last leg of our little vacation, and there's only one stop left to make, and that is Homeward Bound. Well, thank you for that comment. I really appreciate it. I love Wyndham Hill stuff. Like, so good, so well recorded, and just so well played. I got a ton of it over in my jazz section. So good. Um, so Homeward Bound, the last track on the EP. Um, I wanted to do this one off camera because I wanted to have some surprises. So there are 3 songs that I did not work on stream: Full Speed Ahead, Boardwalk, and this one. Um, this one I kind of wrote in a day. I think I wrote it Saturday. I think either Friday or Saturday. I might have wrote it Saturday because that's when I put out Boardwalk as the first single. And I wanted to do something that echoed back to the feel of Full Speed Ahead, which is that triplet, and then really kind of have it be a mellow. Again, you're kind of coming home, after relaxing vacation, and you've been traveling all this time, and I just can't wait to get home. And now that I'm home, just put my bags down, relax a little bit, and then that's it pretty much. And then so I started out kind of playing around with that loop that I made in Stylus RMX, the percussion loop. Or I could go. I didn't want to do that. So chord-wise, the really interesting stuff is going to happen during the synth solo, and I'll talk about what the sounds are that I'm using there in a second. But I'm basically coming out of the chorus. So I could go there, but I went to the flat 7. To the flat 3, so I'm borrowing a chord from the parallel minor key. So I'm in D major. So we're going to do a little bit of modal interchange, and we're going to go to the minor, which is F. And we're going to do it again. So where did that E flat come from? Well, remember when I said that as long as you've got some common ground between 2 chords, the chord change will work. Also, think about the relation that chord you want to go to, that destination has with where you're at. So if I'm here, I'm going to go to that B flat, which is a flat 7. Again, we're borrowing from the minor key. So we're doing the 6 in the minor key. When I go to that E flat over G, we're going up a 4th. We now have another borrowed chord from the D minor in the G minor. And then we go up to an A7, which which is a common chord between the major and the minor. Why? Because watch this. Or if I do that and if I use all major keys, now I'll do a G minor and a D minor. So here's that D harmonic minor that I was showing earlier, which has that raised 7, which then can bring me back to the major. So I'll play that whole sequence right now, coming out of the chorus. And then we're back. All right, let's talk sounds. The piano in that track was again the F Grand from UVI's Key Suite Acoustic. The pad sound was my Jupiter Prophet Marriage from Omnisphere. The bass was from Trillion. The drums were Superior Drummer 3. And the percussion was Stylus RMX. I've also got near the end of the piece, as well as a counter melody, some CS80 V4 from Arturia, which is kind of playing the playing a counter melody to the piano part. I buried it a little bit because I really wanted that piano part to be the focus. And you also heard that big CS80 bass note, like on the bottom. You know, like way on the bottom. Yeah. So that was a CS80 V4 doing that. And I think that's it. And then there's also a version of the Jupiter Prophet Marriage has a portamento pad doing another counter melody in there somewhere. But let's talk about that solo. So that is the sound right there. It's coming from the Hydrasynth. It's called Big Saws, so it's kind of a brass sound. And on the deluxe, it's a single patch. And that's that sound. And I can't think of anything else to talk about with this piece. So I am going to say that that is Staycation. So I had a great time listening to this with everybody, and listening to the CP with everybody, and talking about the making of it, like what sounds I used, what was I thinking when I was writing it, you know, all different little things. If you like the EP, it's available on BandCamp. I'm gonna go ahead and put a link to it. Unless it doesn't let me copy a link. Let me go and check it over on YouTube. Okay, perfect. The link appeared on YouTube. It doesn't appear like that in StreamYard for some stupid reason. Okay, so If you liked the EP and would like to support my music, please go to BandCamp. Like I said, the link is in the chat. Um, and please go ahead and make a purchase and help support my music. And honestly, I can say, and I've said this before on previous live streams, if you really like an artist, please support them by purchasing their music. I know streaming is convenient. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, um, whatever floats your boat. But an artist will make a little bit more, um, when you actually purchase their music. Preferably via physical media, but this is not physical media. If you purchase their music, they'll actually make a little more because streaming pays like nearly nothing unless you get like 100 million streams. I think it's completely ridiculous the way that platform works out. So the only things that I put out on streaming services are really, really big releases. I have an album I'm working on. Hopefully, it's going to be done by next summer. Another Christian album. So I'm really hoping that that's going to be out. So that will be available on physical CD, as well as like Spotify and all that stuff. I want to use Bandcamp for pretty much everything else. So EPs, side things. But like I said, if you like an artist, whatever artist you like, please purchase their music. It really helps them out and it helps them to continue doing what they're doing. And so again, this has been fun. I've had a great time talking about Staycation. Again, if you like it, please purchase it. If you liked this stream as well as some of my others that I've done in the past, my reviews, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. When you subscribe, if you hit the bell icon, the notification icon, you'll get notified anytime I go live or anytime I upload a new video. I don't have a regular schedule for uploading videos because I do have a lot of other things that I do, as far as helping to teach music here at the school, at the Christian school, as well as a lot of activities that I do with church, things like that. And then all these other projects that I have. I've got like 3 other bands that I'm in. So all that stuff. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a stream. Again, this has been fun. Be sure to grab a copy of Staycation, and I've got Retroactive up there. And I did a live stream on that. That's available on the channel where I talk about that album. That EP, excuse me. I've got some various singles up up on Bandcamp, so please be sure to check those out. Thank you everybody for watching that's tuned in live and then on catch up, and I will see you again. Take care.